Evening, y'all. How's it going? Welcome to another Lockdown Live chat, another month-end edition, a little international edition, if you will. It's getting a little chilly here in South Africa, so warming up a little bit. By the way, shout out to Denny and the Brutal Mind guys at Indonesia. You guys rock. Thanks for the merch. And yeah, as usual, joined with my awesome co-host, the purveyor of all things Dracona Media, Mr. Alec Lyle. How's it going, man?
Yeah, no, it's all good, man. Things are the same as pretty much last week, so there's nothing really to complain about. Yeah, but yeah, let's get into the session. We're joined by Sahil all the way from India to talk about all things demonic resurrection and Demonstealer based. And you guys also might know him as the host of a cooking show on YouTube called Headbangers Kitchen. Welcome, Sahil.
Hey guys, thanks for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
I'm so happy we could actually make this work. You're a little bit ahead, so we appreciate you staying up a little bit past your bedtime to join us. So thanks again.
Yep.
So yeah, I guess let's get back into the meat and potatoes. As per all of our Lockdown Live chats, we kind of start at the beginning of lockdown, which is kind of the essence of this chat, if you will. So we've had a little bit of a taste talking to other guests from international countries. You're our first guest joining us all the way from, I believe, Mumbai. So
yeah,
with the whole lockdown and the whole pandemic that pretty much hit, the entertainment industry was hit pretty hard. Artists got also a little bit hit harder. In terms of how it was for you being based in India, how was it then? And obviously now, we'll get a little bit political with the numbers increasing in COVID counts out there. How have you been handling things? How are things in the Headbangers Kitchen?
Well, yeah, I mean, so for me, it's not really been bad at all because, you can say I'm quite privileged to be where I am today. And I think with most of, at least with the heavy metal music industry, if you want to even call it that, pretty much everybody has a day job. Nobody does this full time. So we anyway play a gig or two in a year in our city if we're lucky. Maybe play 12, 13 shows across the country through the year. So it's not particularly bad monetarily for bands. It's more of, you just have to cut down on the thing that you love to do. I do know that some bands like Gutslit and Godless that had tours planned did probably lose a lot of money because they had booked tickets and things like that. And at one point we even started having shows again, but if I'm being really honest, I did not attend any of them. And I thought it was quite irresponsible because, it's one thing to do a show socially distanced, but when you do a metal show and you see the after pictures where everybody's without a mask, the people are moshing, they're standing together for a picture with the band. It's kind of like, guys, this is not the smartest thing to do, but it was short-lived. There were a couple of gigs that happened, and then it basically stopped because the cases started going up. And I think the chunk of musicians that were affected the most were those who are not economically well-to-do, the guys who play in like wedding bands and who do like cruise liner shows and bar shows and who live literally on the bare bones. Because you see, the thing with music here, it's a privilege to be able to be a musician, especially if you're talking about people who do music as a career. Most of them are middle class, slightly well-to-do, so they have backing from family or things like that. And the musicians who didn't have all that, who had probably moved cities and all started going back home because it's just not possible to pay your rent if there are no shows. So it definitely hit hard. But in a country like India, I mean, it's just there's a huge amount of the population that's hit really, really badly. So yeah, I mean, it's quite messed up.
No, that's hectic. I'm glad that you are okay though. You did bring up something really interesting. We in South Africa are also experiencing having shows, and like I'm a musician and I'm pretty much boycotting them at the moment as well, because you see these pictures of people like hanging on each other, people sharing a drink, and it like freaks me the fuck out. But yeah, it's a sign of the times, and people will be people. So to head on to my question, at the beginning of lockdown, you offered some vocal spots, free vocal spots to people, and I know that you dealt with Reino on Forest Megiddo, and
Yeah.
you actually recorded vocals for one of my bands with Reino called Abhorrent Anomaly. And by the way, I just got a mix for that today and sounding pretty cool. Yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But besides us, did people reach out? Have you collabed with a lot more people? How was that process?
Yeah, so I did a lot of stuff. So I didn't just offer vocals. I said I'll do anything you want me to do within reasonable limits. So I did do some drum, about 3 or 4 songs, drumming for a couple of people. I did multiple vocal spots. The problem is I didn't really keep track of any of what I did. Like I just took it to the studio, finished it, mailed it back, and forgot about it. So I actually have no clue what's come out, what's not come out, when it's coming out, because I haven't seen any posts about a lot of the songs that I did. So I'm assuming either they didn't get mixed, or maybe they're in process and will be done at some later date. But I just did whatever I had time to do, and it was fun. I mean, whatever happens to it happens, but I had fun doing that.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, the life of a rock star. Who can keep track, really? Really. So yeah, let's actually pull that back, because obviously most of the people that are viewing would know you as Demonstealer. Ironically enough, myself included, it was only when I started researching the back history that I found out about demonic resurrection. But perhaps for anybody that actually doesn't know, that might be viewing this, tell us a little bit about the names, the origins of Demonstealer, the name, and actually, yeah, demonic resurrection also. How did you guys come up with that?
Right. So both names were coined by myself in solitude with a thesaurus in my hand. So I have been a big fan, and especially in my younger years, when I was about 15, 16, when I came up with these names, I was a big fan of black metal, or at least whatever I considered black metal, Dimmu Borgir and Cradle of Filth and Emperor and Ancient and Oceans, like the list goes on. And I was following all these bands. Old Man's Child, one of my favorite bands, and all the musicians, yeah, genius. But yeah, all these bands, all the members had stage names, and particularly Galder's, I remember reading his real name was Thomas Rune Anderson, and he calls himself Galder. And I was like, holy shit, dude, his real name is so cool. And as a teenager, you're kind of rebelling against your culture, because you're trying to different. So I was like, what kind of a name do I have? Sahil Makhija. Like, that doesn't sound brutal at all. Like, I want something, gothic, like Thomas Rune Anderson. But since I couldn't change my, real name, I said, what, I want a stage name. And I was quite a lot into the demonic imagery, but I was not very well read on mythology or Lord of the Rings, which is where most of these musicians get their names from. And being the 16-year-old kid I was like, okay, I sat with the thesaurus and I was like, demons, I want something evil, because the music's going to have like that darkness to it. And demonic resurrection was a name I put together. And I think in those days we had Yahoo search or Alta Vista or something. And I looked it up and I went to this unsignedbands.com, and basically I went through the web as much as I could, and there was no band called Demonic Resurrection. I was like, yes, that's the band name. And of course, I wanted my stage name to tie in with this. So I was like, demon something, like I'm a guy who kills demons or something. And Demon Slayer was too cheesy. So I was like, okay, Demon Stealer sounds interesting. I could come up with some kind of story that I steal demons and I resurrect them for my army of the dead to take over the world or some shit like that. And essentially, that's what I came up with. And over the years, of course, once you sort of create this name for yourself, it's a little hard to just let go of it. So I was like, you know what, just let it be. Let's stick Demon Stealer for life.
Demon Stealer for life.
Oh yeah. You're relatively active on social media, and I noticed there's 2 pieces of news that you've shared this week. A new Demonic Resurrection song, and you also announced being part of a new band project thing called Solas X in Ferris. Tell us about these things. Tell our audience about them.
Sure. So the Demonic Resurrection track is an old track. It's not a new track. It's from the last album, Dash Avatar. But I think I was like, there's nothing happening with the band. I haven't seen the band members in a year or more. And the guitar player moved to America in the middle of a pandemic. And I was just like, you know what? We've put out lyric videos or some kind of video for most of the songs. There are a couple of them left. Let's just get a video made and, keep the YouTube channel going. So I was like, yeah, because if you don't upload something for a year, YouTube will demonetize your channel. So I was like, I got to upload some stuff. So let's make the video. So that video just came out. And then the band. So I joined Solas X in Ferris about, I think, 2 years ago. And we actually put out an EP as well. And the new album that's coming out now, I just posted about it because I actually took a bit of a hiatus from social media without making a public announcement about it. So when I came back, I just made a general announcement because the album is due to release on the 9th of July, and we already have 2 singles out from the album. So, just want to make sure people knew that and they could get their hands on the music and check it out if they wanted to.
Sick.
Oh yeah. It's good to keep the profile alive, even when it's like kind of hard for artists to stay motivated. So this is an awesome thing, and I'm sure your fans are going to really appreciate it. And I'm sure the tracks are going to be blistering, as we know they would be. So that being said, let's move away a little bit from your bandmates. Much love to all the guys. But let's talk a little bit about the projects and the artists that you've actually worked with. Most notably, most recently, George Colossus. Obviously, as far as a percussionist goes, you couldn't really have gotten anybody better in the tech death realm. You've obviously worked alongside him, but a number of other artists. So me being a little fanboy and you getting a little nostalgic, how about telling us about how the process was working with him, number one, and maybe any other artists that you have fun recollections working with also?
Yeah, I guess writing music or having George play on your album would be a dream for pretty much any metalhead, I think, despite the sort of the way the scene is, like people don't like certain bands and things like that. I think George is one of the universally loved drummers out there. Even if people aren't necessarily the biggest fans of Nile, they know George Colossus and they just when they see him drumming, So in fact, I used to work with a music instrument company about 4 or 5 years ago, and I was with them for 11 years. And I think it was around 2011 or so that we were taking part in the local music expo, and I think we had just gotten Pearl drums on board, and we wanted to have an artist come and do like a showcase for it. And of course, the first name that came to my mind was George Colossus. And it was funny because he doesn't play the brand of cymbals that we were distributing at that point. So normally they like to get somebody who does all the brands that they distribute. But I was like, no, you've got to get George. He is like insane. So I got to meet George, hang out with George, interview George for Headbangers Kitchen, have dinner with him, and just, I mean, I was like in metal fanboy heaven. And thanks to that, I got to keep in touch with him on mail. So when I was doing my solo album, This Burden Is Mine, I think it was 2014 or something, I don't know, 15 maybe. And I was like, I wrote to him. So my original idea actually was to get multiple drummers on that album doing two songs each. And I wrote to George and he said, look, man, I'd like to do the entire album. I don't know if I want to do just 2 songs. I was like, yeah, okay, I'm not going to say no. I mean, George wants to do more songs on the album, sure. So I sent him the album. He loved the songs. And yeah, I mean, that was just, it was obviously, I didn't get to go and jam with him, but I sent him the tracks. He recorded all his ideas. He sent them back to me. He said, is this okay? I said, yeah, I like this. I like this. Could you try something here? He did all that. He sent it back. We're like, okay. And that was pretty much it, and I think I really enjoyed it, because the thing is, the album was written keeping in mind that either I would play drums on it. Before I even thought of hiring drummers, I thought either I'll play drums on it or I'll ask Viru to play drums. But so it was not necessarily an album written keeping in mind that George would play on it, because then I might have, written something more brutal or more death metal or less melodic, But this way, I think it also showcases what George can do beyond just playing 280 BPM or 270 BPM. And I love that he added so much feel to all the music, like the slow parts, the brutal parts, everything has been played perfectly.
So
Really a genius. Really a genius. Shout out. Like the stuff.
So I mentioned during the intro that you have a cool YouTube career. Out of interest, what made you start a metal cooking channel in Headbangers Kitchen? What inspired you?
Right. So this goes back obviously to me as a kid. I loved food, loved cooking. I started cooking at a fairly young age. And before I discovered music and heavy metal, I actually wanted to be a chef. And I had taken cooking classes in school and things like that. But then I discovered metal and I was like, you know what? I forgot about any other career alternatives. But I guess cooking is something that you don't really stop doing, because you don't stop eating, no matter what you're doing. And being a fairly picky eater, I always cooked my own food. So I continued to cook and when we had bands come over to Bombay and I was a promoter organizing concerts, bands would crash at my house. So I'd cook food for them, omelets and things like that. And I got a bit of a reputation of being a decent chef, So I think that kind of inspired me to start a little bit of food blogging when I got my first camera phone. And then YouTube kind of just happened because YouTube started to get popular in India. I was watching cooking videos and I was like, you know what, if I'm going to put out written recipes on Facebook with pictures, why don't I just film it and put it on YouTube? And that's kind of how the idea started of making cooking videos. And I spoke to the director of the first DR music video. And I said, look, I want to shoot some cooking videos. Can you help me? And, he said, yeah, but like, let's not just do cooking. Let's kind of do something a little more. So then we came up with the idea of doing it as a show. So I'll cook a dish, I'll call a band, make them taste the dish, and I'll name the dish after the band. And it was a win-win situation for me. I got to do the cooking, interview a band, promote my music at the end of the day through the channel in one way or another. So yeah, we started it, and then, it evolved to what it is today.
Sick.
It's kind of become like a hybrid, like between, literally a shredder and somebody that shreds carrots and other types of vegetable.
Yeah, once in a while I'll be like, cue the shredding music, and then I'll have like a part of the death metal song kick in, and all these old ladies in America who don't like metal are like, oh, turn the music down.
Love it. Well, let's go get the old ladies a little bit more angry. Let's pull it right back to metal, because we're not done with that yet. And actually, let's talk about the recent EP, and this too shall pass. Very prolific, very appropriate name given these times. The most interesting thing about it is the melodic, powerful track that comes right at the end of the EP. A track that actually is completely covered with clean vocals, something kind of unheard of in the Demonstealer repertoire. Now, obviously, metalheads always want to be the edgy, hardcore types. How was it for you, nerve-wise? Were there any jitters, concerned about how your fans would have reacted to this, broadening out? Let's call it broadening out.
Yeah. Well, actually, if you go back to my album with George Colossus, This Burden Is Mine, there are actually quite a few songs which have very soft vocals and soft melodic parts like that, actually. So that's kind of been a thing that I have had in all my music. Even in Demonic Resurrection, clean vocals have always been there. It's just been a part of our music. We've got, songs like from back in the day, like Frozen Portrait, which has that really soothing intro. And then I think more recently, if you hear Dash Avatar, there's songs like Vamana and Buddha, which are more mellow and slow paced, So I think that's always been there. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, when I work with drummers in mind, so like when I did my album with the mix of drummers with Dan Presley and David Dipole, Kevin Paradis, there I was writing with the drummers in mind. Like, I know this drummer is going to be drumming on this song and I want to make it brutal. Whereas in stuff like this, it's pure emotion and feel, and it's a very different way of writing, for me. So I enjoy both of them, and I think both of them are what make Demonstealer music, to be honest. And I think I've gotten past the stage where I care about what anyone thinks, because I mean, no matter what you do, there's always someone who doesn't like it. So I mean, as long as you're true to yourself and your musical vision, that's the most important thing.
True. And 20 plus years in the industry, you've seen a lot. At this point, people know what they're gonna get with you. So that's actually the key. So,
yeah. And the funniest thing is, sometimes the songs you think are the softest or the most melodic, and that will be hated or disliked, are actually the ones that people like the most. So I think everyone's got a soft side to them. It's just maybe a lot of them just don't like talking about it or showing it, But
yeah, no, that's cool. You recently released a song called Sic Semper Tyrannis. Before I even saw that you had released a song called Sic Semper Tyrannis, I actually released one as well. Same name. What actually inspired the name of your track? Because for me, I was watching an episode of Punisher on Netflix, and they said Sic Semper Tyrannis, and I was like, that's a song name and a half. So I'd like to see, like, where did the inspiration for that song come from for you?
So the song itself, I mean, the title came last. I wrote the lyrics for this song. In fact, the song was actually called Dead King. Wait, I think I wanted to call it Dead King Rising, or then it became Undead King Rising. And basically, Daniel, who mixed the song, was like, dude, this name sucks. Just rename the song. It doesn't really match the lyrics, because my original idea was something to do with having like kind of the Lord of the Rings undead army, something to do with that. But as I was writing it, it just kind of changed totally, and it became about equality and tyranny and so many different things. And then I think I just sat down and tried to brainstorm and think of a name, and I was not really doing too well. But then my wife came up to me and said, you could call it this, and this is what it means. And I'm like, damn, that fits perfectly. So full credit to my wife for coming up with the name. And she's a journalist, writer, so she's probably got it in there any which way. So
That's awesome.
For sure. Actually, I had a little bit of a question off the cuff. It was kind of involving, as we kind of draw near the end of our awesome conversation that we've had, a little bit of inspirational talk, because again, as we mentioned, you're based out in India, we're based out here in South Africa, both very small metal scenes. I don't think people in the international community realize how small the scenes actually are. And obviously, with a lot of bands coming up, you know, looking for a little bit of inspiration, we've been discussing, myself and Alec, over the last few weeks, a lot of stuff about studio recordings, doing your whole, you know, DIY recordings. So maybe you want to just kind of, you know, give a little bit of word of advice for any aspiring other one-man band artists that might have a little sense of musicality and want to get into the metal scene. Any words of wisdom?
Well, you know, my normal answer to all these things is keep your day job and save money and all that. But the truth is, you know, if you desire to make music, you know, go right ahead, man. Like, you know, nothing should stop you from creating music. It doesn't matter how good or bad it is. If you as a person have that desire in you to write a song, to put it out to the world, do it. I mean, and technology has made it possible for every single person, you know. Yeah, I will always say, you know, like, keep yourself grounded and be realistic in your expectations, but don't let anything stop you from doing it, you know. And if you really want to look for inspiration, just look at bands like Bloody Wood from India. I mean, you know, yeah, you know what, not every band will be a Bloody Wood, but the fact is that 5 years ago I would have said there's no possibility that any band will be what Bloody Wood has been today. But they came, they created something so unique, something that the metal world had never heard before, and you know, it's just skyrocketed from there. And I think, you know, while not every band will be a Bloody Wood, you can still be a successful band. You know, at the end of the day, just don't let anything stop you from starting the process.
Sick. I actually also have a question that's not prepared and off the cuff. So Lyle doesn't know this, but I actually saw that you were using like Teespring as part of your manufacture and production process. And I set up one, like an international merch store for a lot of the South African bands. Obviously, you being a YouTube sort of celeb, you're able to push and market that really nicely. So how has the Teespring experience been for you? And would you recommend other people getting into the whole, you know, print on demand, manufacture on demand?
Right. Okay. So I'll break this up into two things. One is the YouTube celeb thing. So because that merch is totally different. That's Headbangers Kitchen. But you got to realize my channel is very geared towards the keto diet and weight loss and things like that. So that audience doesn't really care for merch as much because they're all trying to lose weight. So nobody wants to buy a t-shirt because they're all like, I want to either buy one when I'm lost the weight, you know, or I won't fit into it. So they're very particular about buying stuff. But having said that, I've sold a good amount of stuff on that. But with the band as well, I have been able to sell, you know, our t-shirts through Teespring. I'll put it down to this: there's a pro and con to everything. You know, something like a Teespring will probably give you a smaller profit margin on your merch, but it takes away the risk and the upfront investment, you know. So if you're a band that's going on tour regularly, if you've got a regular influx of orders, you can run your own store. You can print, you know, 200 t-shirts of one design, ship it out on your own, and make, you know, 10, 12, $14 on a print, as opposed to maybe a band that's going to sell 2, 3, 4, 5 t-shirts. Why would you take that risk of printing? Because you also got to realize, if you print 100 t-shirts, you're pre-selecting the sizes. So if you made only 40 medium and suddenly you have a 42 and a 43, people who want it, 3-4 people will not get the t-shirt. So you lost that sale. So pros and cons. For me, it came to a point where, look, I'm too old to pack my own t-shirts and take them to the post office and fight with the post office guys about what is allowed to be shipped and customs declaration. Like, I got fed up of that. So I was like, look, I'll make $3 less on a t-shirt. I don't care, but let somebody else do it. So, if I get one order from America, fabulous. I don't need to print and stock up. I also can do products like baby onesies. We had 3 or 4 fans buy for their 1-year-olds and 2-year-olds. We got mugs, we got phone covers, we got what else? Face masks. I mean, like, the options are a lot. So at the end of the day, you as a band have to decide what is the financial risk you're willing to take, And if, for example, like if you're not a very active band, why would you print and stock up on t-shirts? You might as well just put it up, and when you get an order, they print it, they ship it, they deal with the refunds, they deal with the returns. You are completely free and you can do your own thing,
100%. Thank you. Thank you for that plug, basically, to encourage people to be better. That's from our side.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is there, we're about wrapping up the call. Is there anything that you would like to plug at this junction?
Well, sure, why not? If you want to check out some metal from India, go listen to Demonic Resurrection and Demonstealer. You'll find both projects on all digital platforms, including YouTube. On YouTube's, I've got music videos for pretty much every song we've ever done, so you can enjoy a visual experience as well. And if you like food and cooking, you can check out Headbangers Kitchen. So yeah, and Solas X and Furris also. But not, I keep forgetting I have other bands. So yeah, do check that out.
Yeah, definitely. Sahil, it has been an absolute pleasure and an honor to chat to you. Chats like
this, you guys for having me.
It really just shows me and shows us how small the metal family is and how we can all be connected, even though we're continents and hours apart. So, man, thanks so much. Thank you for the music. Thank you for shredding. We'll just one more joke. And again, just keep on rocking, and we will keep on listening. And yeah, Alec, I think that is going to be it for another week. What do you say?
100%. Thank you. Thanks, guys. Have a great evening.
Awesome,
Cheers,
guys.
Thanks
have an
for
awesome week ahead. Guys, have a wicked week ahead. We will see you soon.